And then finally, at the bottom of this page, I'll start with lines 13, 14, and 15. This is the equivalent tax impact needed for the different scenarios. So remember, column C is the 30-year, column D is the 40-year. The difference is what is the assumed growth from the 2024 reval. So line 13 is 1% growth in the reval. And what that means is for the 30-year term, the equivalent revenues needed to pay that debt back would be equal to just under 22 cents. That would be an incremental new 22 cents on top of whatever the tax levy is currently or in the future. If you go out 40 years, you shave that a little bit to 19 cents. And so it goes. With a 10% reval, the 30-year term would have an impact of 20 cents. The 40-year term would have an impact of about 17.5 cents. And then finally, with a 20% reval, 18.3 pennies versus 16. Those tax rates would not need to occur until fiscal year 27. If you remember, I said that's when the debt service would start. So these would be a few fiscal years away before you would need to come up with the revenue needed to pay that debt. Again, the revenue could come from any number of places. It could come from multiple sources of funding, but for the purposes of this analysis and for perspective, we benchmarked it against pennies on the tax rate.
The very bottom of this page looks at one, I guess what I would call an implementation process for the tax rate, rather than waiting until FY27. And again, this assumes that the referendum is approved and that you're moving forward. Rather than waiting to adjust the tax rate until FY27, all we've done here is measured what is the impact if you decided to adjust the rate in FY24. So that would be the first budget you're working on after the referendum. And so essentially you're raising the tax a few years earlier than you technically need it, and in doing so you're able to shave the impact a little bit. So you can kind of cross-check those sections against one another and see what doing that does to the impact of the project. So when you look at this 30 years versus 40 years, whatever we want to assume about the FY24 reval, when you would do the tax rate, be it 2027 or earlier, the range of the tax impact is anywhere from the equivalent of 13 cents to 22 cents. I'm rounding slightly. 13 to 22 cents. That's on the full 20 million. Again, ideally you don't have to issue the full 20 million, so there would be some positive results from that if that's how it were to play out. A little bit of improvement perhaps couldn't be recognized in the interest rate, but we don't want to assume that. We feel like 4% is a reasonable number given what the market's doing. We're talking about 4% interest rate on the loan and how far out we are before USDA is likely to commit to the funding. So the final slide is on page 6. What we've done here is just trying to give perspective on that range of potential tax impacts of 13 to 22 cents. We've really done it from 10 cents to 25 cents, and you can see $150,000 property, $250,000 property, $350,000 property. It's fairly linear, but you can see what does 10 cents mean, or 15 cents, or 20 cents mean on an annual tax impact. This is just for the 10 to 25 cents. It's not taking into account what you're paying already, if you will, for the baseline tax rate. So this would be, I guess, what I call the incremental tax bill, tax burden, anywhere from 10 to 25 cents per hundred.